Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I got to tell you, I got a little excited today because I'm skeptical that we're ever going to see the Epstein client list. But Pam Bondi was asked a direct question on Fox this morning.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files.
Yeah, okay, so that's a strong maybe. That kind of sounded like a yes, but it wasn't, was it? Are we actually going to get to see the Epstein list ever? 800-288-9227. This is James in Mesquite. You're on WBAP. What do you think, James?
Hey, I think we're going to get a version of it. I don't think we'll get the actual list. There's probably too much power on that list. It's kind of like the drone release we got when Trump got in there. I think it was said that it was just hobbyists. So, yeah, I think they'll release something, but I can't imagine it being the actual list.
Well, I don't like the idea that she has to review it. What do you mean you got to review it? You got to make sure there's no one like that's associated with you guys on there. You got to clean it up. You got to make sure all your political opponents are on there. You're going to change anything? You're going to edit anything? You're going to change your mind? There shouldn't be a review. There should be the release of the list, period, point blank, end of story.
Yes, sir. I agree, 100%. We might get a list of redacted names, just a bunch of black lines.
Well, then that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Yeah, if they release a partial list, that's not getting the list, and I would be super disappointed. But what's their excuse? What could their excuse even be to not release the list, other than some politically connected people are on it? That's it.
Yep, I agree, 100%.
Because there's no way this could be like a national security thing. There's no way. Thank you very much for your call, James in Mesquite. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Do you think we're ever going to get to see the Epstein list? And one of the reasons a lot of people got all gassed up about this is things that were talked about, like when the QAnon narrative first started up, one of the things they talked about was, how there's a pedophile ring that's running all of DC and Hollywood, and it will be exposed. And when Epstein got busted, and when he got arrested, and when he got put in prison, and we knew that there was a list, and we knew that there was important people on it, and then Ghislaine, the beginning parts of the QAnon conspiracy narrative were coming true for a while there. And then, some other weird stuff got added on top of it with Pizzagate and some other weird things, and that kind of fell apart. And then it got revived about this time last year it was on the Club Shay Shay podcast. Shannon Sharp has a podcast. Cat Williams was on it, and he sort of revived this whole thing because he said this, and then the Diddy list gets exposed.
Big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
And not too long after he said that, Puff Daddy got arrested. Puff Daddy did get in trouble. So we have seen progress where the world that you and I were born into, going all the way back to the beginning of human history, just there was things that elite people got away with in every society at every frame of time throughout the planet. It's just a normal thing, and it's a horrible injustice, and I wish we didn't live in that world. And then we have a chance here to actually hold the elites accountable. We have a chance here for these people who thought they were going to get away with it, just like they always have, to finally stop that. And if that comes to pass, that will be such a huge inflection point in history. It'll be the first time. Like when you go back and you read ugly history and you start digging into it, there's pedophiles all over the place. It is really disgusting. There was a guy that, the Battle of Orleans with Joan of Arc, the general that was actually in charge of the fort initially got most of the credit for winning the victory, but it became all of Joan of Arc's victory when we found out he had a bunch of dead kids in his basement because he used to kidnap them and do awful things to them sexually. And so, this guy just kind of gets erased from history. But there's a lot of those. There's a lot of Roman emperors and Tiberius and Caligula and just weirdos and Elagabalus being all weird. So, but they've always gotten away with it. The guy that was next to Stalin that whole time, that was just running around raping generals' daughters. They just always get away with it. Are we finally going to be the first civilization where the common man and the common people, when we band together so powerful enough, it doesn't matter how elite you are, we can still get a little bit of justice for those, the least among us, children, the people with no resources, no power, no clout. It would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing. I don't know if we all realize how monumental the Epstein List coming out will be. I don't know if we all realize how this would be the first time in history. It's like when we wiped out slavery in the 1800s. Slavery was something that was just a terrible part of the human experience for all 10,000 years of recorded history up until the 1800s. And now we just wiped it out, and it's the most normal thing in the world that everyone's against slavery and everyone thinks it's wrong and everyone thinks that it's something that shouldn't be tolerated in a society. And I think we're about to turn another corner here with this pedophile stuff. Lisa in Abilene, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Yes, I think that we'll get a downside version of all of it. It's been too long. But on Epstein, you said we couldn't, maybe I misunderstood, but you said we couldn't prosecute. Why can't? Now, I'll say they could come up with, I went on the plane, I saw what it was, and I left, which you should have reported that. But if you've got people that's gone on that plane 5 or 6 times to that island, they knew what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Why can't we prosecute them? I don't know.
I don't remember saying we can't prosecute him. I know we can't prosecute Epstein. He's already dead. I hope we can prosecute as many people as possible. Prince Andrew, or, if it's a Republican leader or a Democrat leader, I don't care. All of them go to jail.
I don't either.
All the way up to Donald Trump himself or Kamala Harris herself or whoever it is. There is no sacred cows here. I want them all under the jail. In fact, I want them all executed.
I would like to see that, and I'd like to bring back hanging. I like the cowboy way of life. So, that would be good.
Well, you know what I think might be a similar argument, but just sort of modernized, is you don't have to maybe do hanging, but even if we do something nice like lethal injection, put it on TV and let us all see it. I think that's I think that's part of the societal effect that it's an advantage lost when you have the death penalty, when you had hangings in the town squares. That's not just a punishment like, hey, let's embarrass this guy for doing something horrible. It's also a reminder, hey, the rest of you guys that are out there thinking about robbing and raping and killing, this is how you're going to end up. And having that like traumatic visual, it gets burned into your memory a little bit harder than it otherwise would now, doesn't it? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we'll talk with Janice Spooner, an expert on lending and credit, about getting you out of debt. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. And a story we had talked about, I guess it was earlier this week, the interim Dallas police chief, Mr. Igo, said he's not going to be complying with all the immigration laws, ICE detainer requests. He's not going to do anything special to help those guys out. Now, let's go through the timeline here, because there was a video that was put on the Dallas Police Department's YouTube channel. What was the date on this? Let's see, January 29th of this year. And this started sort of the issue because Tom Homan, the new border czar, already said these mayors or police chiefs or whoever who don't comply with ICE detainer requests, anyone who impedes or blocks an investigation or the law enforcement at the federal level, they're going to be arrested and brought up on charges. So we're kind of keeping an ear out to see what we're going to do here locally. Here is Police Chief Igo in January.
Dallas diversity is our strength. It contributes to the economic and cultural vibrancy of our community. We will continue to serve all of our residents without regard to race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, national origin, or other protected categories. That is not only the law, but it's the right thing to do. The federal government is primarily responsible for enforcing immigration laws. The City of Dallas and the Dallas Police Department will continue to be responsive to community needs and promote public safety for its residents. DPD will continue to enforce city and state laws while upholding the constitutional rights of residents. DPD and other departments are guided by the Dallas Welcoming Strategic Plan, which seeks to serve as a plan for civic, economic, and linguistic social integration and inclusion for the Dallas diverse communities. Currently, there are no changes to how the City of Dallas and DPD will provide services. This also means that if you are a victim of a crime, you have the right to report it, regardless of immigration status.
Yeah, he said diverse and inclusion there a lot, right? And so people got their radars, pinging, rightfully so. And then there was the video that got passed around. I think it came from one TV channel, but now it's been reported several other places where he was doing one of these outreach outreach meetings at a church. Now, it's a Hispanic-speaking church. No one there speaks English, and I think it's a safe assumption that maybe not everyone there has all their immigration paperwork completely up to date, and this got a little more attention.
The Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas.
He's not helping them detain anyone, the feds. So, does that mean someone needs to get Tom Homan to come down here with the posse and throw some bracelets on him? Maybe not. He tried to clear this up. This was on, I saw this on the Dallas Morning News, but I think this was from his DPD YouTube channel as well.
The Dallas Police Department has not been asked by either state or federal law enforcement to participate in any immigration enforcement efforts. However, the department has assisted and will continue to assist any agency in the arrest of a person wanted for a criminal offense, regardless of their immigration status. The Department General Order regarding immigration remains in effect. In accordance with this regulation, Dallas officers will not, and I quote from our General Order, stop or contact any person for the sole purpose of determining immigration status, and are permitted but not required to ask about the immigration status only of those persons who are lawfully detained or arrested.
He's being a little intentionally cloudy there, don't you think? Because no one is wanting you to just out of the blue go up and start asking random people about their immigration status or use that as the probable cause to initiate an interaction with someone in the community. We just want to know if you already have someone and ICE has a detainer request on them, are you going to hold them and turn them over to ICE? Or are you going to do whatever you would have done whether or not ICE existed? Because that's clearly what you said in previous statements. And then you said something that was completely on the other side of the pendulum when you thought you were talking at a private situation that wasn't going to get out to the public. And then you come out to clarify your comments and you keep them pretty muddy. Now, I think you can make the same deduction the rest of us are making. If he is being intentionally not transparent, if he's being intentionally opaque, or at least translucent here, it's because the way he's going to operate is not going to be politically popular. It's going to be criticized. It's not right. The people that he's talking to and the people that are going to hear this and the people of Dallas are not going to like the answer. If it was a popular answer, you would be upfront about it. You'd be a little more transparent. You wouldn't be all over the map. And you wouldn't say these very vague statements that all have escape clauses in them. Make no mistake. He's trying to play both. He's trying to go soft on illegal immigration because that's what he believes, but he can't say it out loud because then he risks what? The wrath of Tom Homan or the wrath of the residents of Dallas? The wrath of the political people who put him in that position of power? All of the above. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm not saying it's always that cut and dry and that simple, but I think in this case, it really is that simple. You hide what you're going to say when you're saying something that's not popular. All right, stick around with the James Show because coming up in about 35, 40 minutes, we're going to give away 2 tickets to see Alabama Shakes. Alabama Shakes, I love them. I might want to. Oh, I can't win these tickets. I'm not eligible. But we're going to play Name That Artist. And since this is a newer band, we have a montage of newer than usual artists for you to glean from. We'll play the montage. You got to guess the 10 artists. And these are all going to be 90s alt rock bands. So look forward to that. Also, music fans, Dierks Bentley is coming to Dos Equis Pavilion May 30th. It's his Broken Branches tour. And so we took that word broken and we made it part of our contest. You could win a pair of tickets by texting broken to 800-288-9227. Text the word broken to 800-288-9227. That'll get you entered into the contest to win tickets to see Dierks Bentley, Dos Equis Pavilion, May 30th with Zach Top and Ban Lula. If you'd like to go ahead and just buy your tickets and not take your chances with the contest, go to livenation.com. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Look, we're going to do one serious segment, and then the rest of the show is going to be all joking around. But there's no joking on this segment. David Hamilton's coming back on from America's Future series. And I got to tell you, I was already pretty ticked about the whole Israel situation. And then just listening to the news and hearing it all again, this is just awful. The return of the hostages, dead hostages for live hostages is already kind of a squirrely deal to begin with, but then the duplicity, and one of the bodies isn't the mom, and the two sons, they lied about their cause of death. And I mean, just how low can these people go, David?
This is a limbo contest. I don't think you can beat these guys. They can go lower than we can imagine. And this was on purpose. I don't have any faith that this was an accident, a mistaken identity. But then again, I'm sure to the people who think that all Israelis are pigs, think all Israelis look alike. I mean, how would they possibly be able to tell?
Well, I think of this when I think of the 3 weekends of protests that we had against illegal immigration, but so many of the people were flying these Palestinian flags. You happy with yourself, people, flying the Palestinian flags? Is that cool? When you strangled two toddlers to death and then lie about they were killed in an Israeli airstrike? I mean, David, this is just even worse than I thought it would be.
Well, we have to look at the root cause of the psychology. The psychology is driven around the idea that there's an oppressor and oppressed, and people see a country, Israel, a country being the oppressor, right? So their view is that there's a group of people being oppressed. They use words like apartheid, et cetera. Israel has a country. It's been around since 1948. You can argue whether or not you think it should, but it does. And there are a host, there are dozens of Muslim countries who do not afford the same rights, privileges to non-Muslims that the Israelis, the Jews, provide to Muslims living in their country. But ultimately, this gets down to, I want to fight someone. I need to be a radical in some way, right? Because I'm going to be part of the cool kids club. And I'm too much of a coward to fight a real enemy, so I will go after Israel. These same people would never go after the cartels, and they haven't. They haven't cared about fentanyl, sex trafficking, human trafficking. They haven't cared about that. They would never go after Boko Haram. They would never go after Hamas. They would never go after a real enemy, the Chinese. They would never go after anybody who's serious, who would actually do something back to them. So they will pick on and attack somebody so they can feel like good about themselves and virtue signal. But that is a psychological malaise that has beset this young generation in particular. This is how they are part of the cool kids club and think they're doing some good because they're too big of cowards to take on a real enemy.
So what do you do if you're Israel and this happens? I mean, how many hostages are left? Because once they're all out, I'm not advocating just clearing out all of Gaza, but how else do you stop madness like this?
Oh, no, you do have to clear out of all of Gaza of Hamas people. You have to make sure that all of these tunnels are secured. But keep in mind, if you read the Pew studies and other studies on the beliefs and attitudes of the Muslim community, they do some really good work, and they're not considered conservative or partisan. Most Muslims in the Middle East are in favor of violence toward Jews and the Israelis. They may not do it themselves, but they are not opposed to it, and as a matter of fact, they condone or encourage it. So keep in mind, you're never going to be at peace. And most Israelis in this generation has come to the conclusion, they've been fortified by this. We are going to have to fight forever to stay alive, and we will never be able to let down our guard. The idea that there could be peace for land, et cetera, that has been offered multiple times, and it has always been turned down by the Muslim extremists and the Muslim mainstream. So there is no land for peace opportunity. The two parts that we talk about, the West Bank and Gaza, were taken because the entire Muslim world attacked Israel in the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War and tried to drive them from the river to the sea.
Well, if you have a neighbor who says, I have dedicated my entire life to wiping you out and you will never know peace as long as we're alive, they're giving you the out, but it's not a pretty one. They're basically asking to be genocided or at least just removed from the area.
So if you and I had that situation in our lives, like you said, a neighbor, we would have a moral responsibility to go and kill those people rather than watch our loved ones die.
Yes.
Okay, so if I truly felt that someone was going to come after my kids, my wife, et cetera, well, I would much rather be in prison for having killed them than be alive and well and lamenting the fact that I did nothing about these maniacs trying to kill my family. That's kind of the situation that Israel is faced with. And it's really a very good analogy. I appreciate your analogy. And what they must do is at least cut the head off of it. And that has worked every time. Every time we've gone after their leaders and knocked them down, they change. The leaders are very happy to let young, innocent, and impressionable people martyr themselves. But the old dudes, they don't want to die.
Terrible situation. I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
No, so appreciate your covering this. What we have to do is continue to ratchet up the pressure. We have to ratchet up the pressure on everyone else in the region. There are some reasonable countries like Saudi Arabia who brokered a deal when Trump was in first, the Abraham Accords with Egypt, understanding that Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, et cetera, are actually a deeper threat to them than the Israelis could ever be. They understand that for emotional reasons and religious reasons, they don't like the Israelis and the Jews. But the people that threaten them, that could ultimately topple them, are the most radical of their own faith. And they're really two different faiths. They are not the same. They don't have the same faith, right? The really hardcore ISIS types, they don't think that the rank and file Muslims, especially those leaders, the ones in places like Saudi Arabia, are conservative enough. And eventually, as they say that the guillotine is always thirsty. Mm-hmm. Every revolution cannibalizes itself. Eventually, the most hardcore will go after the ones they consider to be too soft.
David Hamilton, America's Future Series. The calendar's about to get heated up for 2025. What you got coming up?
The main thing is May 8th. We have a fantastic event here in Dallas. It is our National Security and Economic Economic Strategy Summit. It's going to be at Circle T Ranch on Westlake in North Fort Worth with Alliance, partnering with the folks at Hillwood. We have Ross Perot Jr. Helping host that. We've got a rather prominent group of people talking about national and economic security issues, and that's on our website. And I'd love for people to go to americasfutureseries.com and check that out.
Thank you very much, David Hamilton. Ugly topic, but it's serious news here. I told you weren't going to like that segment, but the rest of the show is going to be absolutely fun, where it's just going to be nice Friday whimsy from here on out. We got Name That Artist coming up in about 20 minutes, so if you want some Alabama Shakes tickets or just want to play along with the game show, stick around. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.